So Valve just changed the gaming landscape. 3 new pieces of hardware were announced: the Steam controller, Steam machine, and Steam frame. And together, they turned Steam from a platform into a full-blown ecosystem, and I could not be more excited about this. And this is not a Steam Deck refresh. This is Valve stepping directly into console and VR territory and doing it their own way. What makes it such a big deal is how it brings the best gaming operating system out there, SteamOS, to an even wider audience. We're talking console players, PC enthusiasts, and VR gamers all under the same umbrella, and I've not really seen this happen before from such a reputable company that I like so much. If you look at like Apple or DJI and what makes them so popular, it's their ecosystem. The hardware, the software, accessories all playing nicely together. Valve is doing the same thing, but for gaming. Every product announced today connects with the others. They all share SteamOS, they all integrate with Steam accounts, and they all push the idea of pick it up and start gaming further than any PC brand has done before, which, as you know, if you're a follower of this channel, I'm a big fan of. So let's dive into the 3 new products that have been announced and share some thoughts on them. The first announcement was the new Steam controller. Now, I've still got the original Steam controller here. You may have never even seen this device before because it really wasn't that popular, but it was very ahead of its time. It has these little touch sensor pads right here, which, as you know, went on to the actual Steam Deck itself. So Valve has been doing hardware creations for a while, but it's really just been kind of to test the waters in a couple different areas, not dive full force into it right now. But what makes me look forward to the new Steam controller is the fact that the old one was such good quality. It feels really good in the hands. It had very unique functionality with the touch pads on it. So to see the new one coming out, I'm really excited about that because the new version borrows the same ergonomic shape as the Steam Deck, which already fit really naturally in the hands. As you know, I love thumbsticks near the top of the controller, and it has that. And those are dual magnetic thumbsticks with capacitive touch, but it also has dual track pads with haptic feedback, just like the Steam Deck. And it also has 6-axis gyro, 4 back buttons, and basically every input method that you could possibly need on a controller. Valve even added capacitive sensors on the back, so you can trigger precision gyro aiming with just a touch of your finger, which is really awesome to see on a controller. Like I said, when Valve creates a piece of hardware, they usually do it right. One of the features that I also really like is called the puck. It's a magnetic charger and it's a wireless adapter all in one. You just snap it on to charge, pop it off to play, and it automatically handles pairing. So you can play wired, over Bluetooth, or through Valve's 2.4 gigahertz low latency connection, and it runs for over 35 hours per charge from what I'm seeing on the announcement videos, which is pretty solid for most gaming setups, especially when every time you pick it up, it's completely charged all the way. To me, this shows that Valve is doubling down on that same instant play experience that they built the Deck around. Life's busy, nobody wants to sit there waiting for a controller to charge or fight with pairing menus. Everything about this controller feels like it's designed to remove friction from getting into the gaming process, which will lead us to the next thing, and the thing I'm probably the most excited about with this announcement, and that's the Steam machine. Now for the Steam machine, think of it as the Deck's desktop counterpart. It's a small form factor PC that feels more like a console powered by a custom AMD Zen 4 chip with RDNA 3 graphics. So it's about 6 times the power of a Steam Deck. That translates to 4K gaming at 60 FPS with AMD's FSR built in for upscaling. You can grab it in 2 storage options at 512 gigabytes or 2 terabytes that are NVMe SSDs so that you can replace or upgrade. And it also has a micro SD card slot expansion, which is really neat to see on like a console PC type of setup. And then it of course has all of the IO that you could possibly want: HDMI, DisplayPort, USB-C, Ethernet, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, and even an addressable RGB strip on the front for customizable system indicators. So while it's exciting to look at, if you look at the specs, how does it actually stand performance-wise? So let's compare it against something like the PS5 Pro. Valve's numbers suggest about half of the raw teraflops, but this runs SteamOS, which is a much lighter and more efficient operating system, so the performance gap might not feel as big as it looks on paper. But then if you compare it to handhelds like the ROG Ally X or MSI Claw 7, the Steam machine will easily win in thermals, sustained clocks, and storage speed. And then if you compare it to a full gaming PC, you're trading flexibility for simplicity. You're not upgrading parts and getting this super massive mega rig, but you're getting a console-like reliability with PC-level customization, and I really like this hybrid approach that Valve is doing. This feels like Valve's way of saying you can have the power of a desktop, the simplicity of a console, and the openness of a PC all in one box. It'll run SteamOS natively, so it'll boot fast, sleep fast, and wakes instantly, and it just plays games. That's the big part of it. That's what console players want, and now they have it without leaving Steam. So this merge between the two worlds is pretty revolutionary in my view. Now, the third product that Valve announced in this release was the Steam Frame. It's Valve's new wireless VR headset, and it looks surprisingly capable. It's 2160 by 2160 pixels per eye with up to 144 Hz refresh rate, inside-out tracking, and eye tracking for foveated rendering. And it all runs on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor with 16 gigs of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage in this headset, which is pretty phenomenal. So it'll work as both a standalone headset and as a wireless PC VR device. You can stream from your gaming rig over Wi-Fi 7 for low latency VR with no cables, no base stations, just headset and controllers, because not a lot of people have access to that. So we'll dive more into that as we get closer to the launch of these products. And be sure to subscribe, because I will be throwing all my dollars at Valve to make sure that I get these on the channel as quick as possible. But now if we compare it to something like the Meta Quest 3, it's roughly the same resolution, but it does have a higher refresh rate and better local storage options, which definitely gives it the edge. Now, if you compare it against something that's really focused on more of a productivity standpoint, like the Apple Vision Pro, it's obviously not in the same price or mixed reality class, but it's built purely for gaming. That's the difference. Where others are chasing the AR experience, Valve's doubling down on what gamers actually use these headsets for, and the fact that it runs natively with SteamOS and its library is just the cherry on top. But it's not just a VR headset too, and this is what I'm really excited about. It has its own Steam operating system built into the headset. This means you can install games directly onto it or stream your entire Steam library, including non-VR games, and use the new Steam controller inside the headset for traditional gameplay. That way you can just have this giant screen in front of you and a nice controller to play it on. That flexibility alone could make this the first truly mainstream PC VR setup. I know VR has been around for a very long time, and there's a lot of headsets you would consider mainstream, but none that are this easy to work with on a computer. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the timing of this release, and I think it's actually perfect from Valve's standpoint, and that has nothing to do with the holidays, because it actually comes out in early 2026 from what the trailer said. But the timing just couldn't be better, because Xbox just raised prices of Game Pass, and at this point, you're basically renting your library from month to month. And if you want to buy a game at a discount once you're already a Game Pass member, you can also do that. But if you've been a long-time Steam user, I guarantee you have a bunch of games you've never even installed, because Steam sales are absolutely ridiculous. And then when you use third-party sites like GOG.com or all the other ones where you can get Steam keys, you can get games for dirt cheap. And right now, there is an indie game revolution that's happening where AAA games are struggling, but all of these small developers with games that are created by 1 or maybe 2 or 4 person teams, those are going to optimize super well for a system like this. So Valve's ecosystem is the entire opposite. You buy your games, you own them, and now you can play them on any device you want between handheld, desktop, console, or headset. So Valve is not just competing with handhelds anymore. They're stepping into every major segment of gaming, and they're doing it with hardware that speaks the same language through SteamOS. This was such a surprise for me, because I thought, okay, maybe we're close to getting a Steam Deck 2, which I would still love to see, but this announcement kind of came out of nowhere, and it's a bunch of stuff happening at once. But several times now I've mentioned why SteamOS is great, and I kind of talked about because of how well optimized it is and how well it runs, but it's because it's so lightweight. It's not loaded with system bloat or background junk, so your hardware spends more time running the game instead of the operating system. And that's one of the drawbacks of having like a Windows-based handheld like an ROG Ally or any of the other miscellaneous ones that are based on Windows. It's not having to run Windows in the background while trying to run the game. That's a huge reason why Steam Deck owners love it, and why I'm excited to see these new devices to feel just as snappy, and I hope they live up to the hype. So excited as I am, until these start shipping in early 2026, we really won't know how well they perform in the real world. But on paper, Valve's lineup looks like the most cohesive hardware ecosystem in gaming right now, if everything launches smoothly and all goes well. The original Steam controller was an experiment. The Steam Deck proved Valve could make great hardware. And this new lineup, this is Valve taking that success and scaling it across the entire gaming space, and I love it. If they pull this off, we're looking at a company that is no longer just a platform. It'll now be one of the backbones of modern PC gaming, now expanding into living rooms and VR headsets alike. And honestly, that's what makes this announcement so exciting. Notice on any of this, I didn't talk about pricing. That's for a reason. Valve has not actually announced the pricing of any of these devices just yet. But if we look at the original launch of the Steam Deck, it was around $400. And I see some speculation online saying that the Steam Machine would be around $650 to $750. And I've never thought once that Valve has overpriced anything that they've ever created. And so I don't expect the prices to be too crazy. And that makes it even more of a powerful announcement, is the fact that these might be more obtainable for the average person, but we will see once we get there. We'll analyze the prices once we actually have the products in hand, and we can do some testing and I can tell you if they're worth it or not. So definitely subscribe and join the Freaky Tech fam, because I'll be bringing these to the channel as soon as I can, hopefully as soon as they release. And I would love to have you there alongside with me as I go through this testing. But thanks so much for watching this video today. Let me know down in the comments if you were excited about it, if you think this is as big of a deal as I do, but I just appreciate you stopping by. Again, I'm Corey with Freaky Tech Reviews. I'll see you next time. Real quick before you go, YouTube thinks that you might like this video right here, so be sure to check it out and continue exploring the Freaky Tech Reviews channel.